Hello family, you are most welcome to AKitchenFarAway. Today we are heading straight to the north of Ghana, virtually of course, to enjoy one of the most nourishing meals you will ever have, Tuo Zaafi with Ayoyo Soup. If you've never had this dish before, get ready to fall in love with this dish, and if you have had it before, then you already know what's about to go down. Without wasting much time, let's get straight into it. Let's start with our tomato stew because this is what makes you fall in or out of love with the whole TZ experience. Here are the ingredients we'll be working with. Red scotch bonnet peppers for heat, of course some fresh tomatoes, tomato paste for richness, a tin of mackerel in tomato sauce, some beef with the skin at the back. You can also use beef and wele. Some green habaneros which we'll be using later for heat, a blend of roughly chopped onions, ginger and garlic. We also need sliced onions, we need Dawadawa, palm oil, and to season this up nicely we need a AKitchenFarAway all-purpose spice mix and salt. Now that our ingredients is set, let's get this stew cooking. I started off by blending my fresh tomatoes and red scotch bonnet, and then I set this aside. Into a cooking pot goes the meat, seasoned with salt. Then I added my roughly chopped mix of onion, ginger, garlic and green habaneros. Then I added a generous amount of the AKitchenFarAway allspice mix. I would usually allow this to cook in its own juices, but there's no time to waste, so let's add water and boil everything until the meat is soft. The skin on the beef tends to be a bit stubborn. It takes a while to cook, and so you want to make sure it is perfectly cooked before adding this to your stew. Once your meat is nicely cooked, let's move on to our stew base. In a pot, heat up some palm oil. Once it's hot, add your sliced onions and Dawadawa. Don't skip this if you can help it. It gives it that deep and authentic northern flavor. Stir this and allow your onions and Dawadawa to simmer gently in your palm oil until it's fragrant. Next, I added my tomato and pepper blend. I let this simmer for about 5 minutes, just enough for it to begin reducing, and then I stir in the tomato paste to help thicken and deepen the stew. Once the tomato base has simmered down nicely and thickened, it's time to add your meat. So I added the meat along with the stock. Stir everything together and then add the tomato sauce from the canned mackerel. We'll add the fish much later. Stir again and let it continue cooking on medium heat so that the stew reduces further and the meat absorbs more of that rich flavor from the stew. Let everything simmer together beautifully until the oil begins to settle on the top. Once the oil begins settling on the top, you know your stew is ready. So to finish off, gently add in your mackerel. I like to add this at the end of the cooking because I do not want my mackerel to break apart completely. And so I let this simmer gently for about 5 to 10 minutes. I always like to finish off my stews and soup with fresh green habaneros. This adds flavor and also adds a spicy kick at the end. And so I threw in some green habaneros, some whole green habaneros to finish off the cooking process. And now let's move on to our green soup, the Ayoyo soup. But before we do, I want to say a big thank you to all my subscribers, both new and old. I see you. I appreciate you. If you haven't yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and join our growing family. Let's get straight into making our Ayoyo soup. And here's what you need. You need some ayoyo leaves, also known as jute leaves. I've already plucked my leaves from the stem and washed this thoroughly. Please wash your vegetables thoroughly. These vegetables tend to hold on to a lot of dirt, so please do wash them very well. You also need some Dawadawa. If you are using this type of Dawadawa or locust beans, please do wash them thoroughly as well. You need the remaining onion and pepper blend. You also need some smoked mackerel, some baking soda to help bring out the green color of the jute leaves and also to activate the slime in the jute leaves. And lastly, you need salt. Started by blending my smoked mackerel. Feel free to use powdered mackerel if that's what you have available. I gave this a very light blend to just break it down and not to make it smooth. Boil some water in your pot, and once it's bubbling hot, add in your Dawadawa just to release that aroma. Next, I added my jute leaves or the ayoyo leaves, and then I also went ahead and added a pinch of baking soda because, like we mentioned earlier, we want to activate the slime in the jute leaves and also maintain that green color. Now I let this boil for a while, about 2 to 3 minutes, and then I went ahead and added my blended onion pepper blend. My smoked fish blend also went in, and then a pinch of salt. Once your soup has simmered beautifully and the flavors have developed and you are sure your jute leaves is soft, turn off the heat and allow this to cool completely. Once this has cooled down, you can either use a blender, a food processor, or a special broom to break down your ayoyo leaves into very tiny bits. Family, this is how you achieve the perfect ayoyo soup consistency, very slimy, without adding any form of okra. At this point, our ayoyo soup is ready. You can taste and adjust seasoning. If it needs more salt, you can go ahead and add that. Tuo Zaafi, or TZ as we call it in Ghana, is served in 3 parts. The Ayoyo soup, which is the green soup, the tomato-based sauce, and the Tuo Zaafi, which is either made from corn or millet flour. And for this recipe, I used corn flour. I'll share the recipe for the Tuo Zaafi in another video. And so don't forget, stay glued, stay subscribed so you don't miss out when the video is uploaded. And family, we have all 3 components ready with an extra component, which is egg. Yes, what is Ghanaian food without egg? Serving this dish with kosuani meko, which is hard-boiled eggs with pepper, is completely optional. And so I served mine with an egg and some sliced onions on the top because yes, we want that crunch. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.